Boy, oh boy, it's been a very long day. Look at me. Just look at me. Tired. Who cares? I've been obsessed with quantum physics before I even knew its name. Between science fiction and supernatural thrillers, I was captivated by the stories and possible theories that came with the entertainment. When I entered the program that would later make me into a cardiac sonographer, it was still present as it was a requirement to take multiple physics classes. I must have been destined to study the discipline. Although destined's kind of harsh, but it always leaves me questioning as an amateur physicist, what if your future isn't something that just happens to you, but something that quietly waits for your attention so it can happen for you? In the world of quantum physics, reality doesn't happen the way we think it should. Particles don't move in straight lines. They wait. They shift, and sometimes they change completely just because someone's watching. Today, we're stepping into the strangeness where science and spiritual concepts brush up against each other. We're going to explore the observer effect, the double slit experiment, although I might refer to it as double split, but I digress, you know what I mean. And the strange idea of superposition, where things exist in multiple states until you engage with them. Not from a place of belief, but from a place of curiosity. So welcome back to another episode of Convos and Chaos. What even is quantum physics anyway? There has been an increasing interest in the topic, and rightfully so. It's a topic that borders the seen and unseen, secular and spiritual, reality and the mind's curiosity. At its core, it's the study of the tiniest building blocks of our reality. Particles smaller than atoms, electrons, protons, quarks, things that the naked eye can't see, our fingers can't touch, or even measure without influencing them. Trying isn't enough to play in this playground. It's just not. It's like reality has this secret life when no one's looking. And when you do look, it acts different. It's like a child who behaves one way when someone's in the room and suddenly stands up straight when someone walks in. In our day-to-day lives, we're used to things being consistent. If you drop a pencil, it falls. If you flip a coin, it lands heads or tails. But in the quantum world, the rules don't hold the same weight. A particle might spin in two different directions at once, or be in two different locations, or not even be in a specific location at all until it's measured. The three most mind-bending ideas at the center of this is superposition, entanglement, and the observer effect. But hold on, I'll explain. Hold your horses. In classical physics, things are predictable. A coin is either heads or tails. A light is either on or off. But in quantum physics, a single particle can be both until someone checks. This is called superposition. It's a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics that says a particle exists in all possible states simultaneously until it's measured. This was first formalized by Erwin Schrödinger in the 1930s in his famous Schrödinger's cat thought experiment. I hope I'm saying his name right. In it, a cat is sealed and is both dead and alive until you open the box. Not metaphorically, mathematically. Superposition is the math that says probability is real until reality locks in. Electrons, for example, don't orbit atoms in neat paths. They exist in probability clouds, a range of places they could be, until you observe them, and one position becomes real. That's how it works. This isn't science fiction. It's tested, verified, repeated in labs using quantum computers and something called interferometry. I think I'm saying right. In fact, quantum bits or qubits used in today's quantum computers rely entirely on superposition to store multiple values at once. A classical bit is either 0 or 1. A qubit is both 0 and 1. So it's not just a trust me bro experiment or me saying that. It's the cornerstone of quantum mechanics. And spirituality, it mirrors something old, and the idea that many futures exist and your presence, the moment you look, is what calls one forward. If superposition is about potential, entanglement is about connection. Deep, strange, unbreakable connection. Quantum entanglement occurs when two particles become correlated in such a way that the state of one instantly determines the state of another. No matter how far apart they are, they're still connected. Einstein hated it, though. He called it a spooky action at a distance. But it's not theory anymore. Entanglement has been repeatedly confirmed. First in the 1980s through Bell test experiments, which proved that the universe does not follow local realism, meaning information doesn't need to travel across space. The particles are part of shared state, as if space doesn't separate them at all. In 2022, Elaine Aspect, John Clauser, and Anton Zeilinger won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their pioneering work on entanglement. Their experiments showed that particles can maintain entanglement across kilometers, and their states remain perfectly correlated. The implication, space might not be fundamental. Something deeper is binding things together, something outside of time, outside of distance. Entanglement powers quantum encryption and future quantum internet designs. It's not just a cool idea, it's technology in motion. And still, somehow, it reminds us of those strange moments in life when you think of someone, they call. When energy travels without explanation, entanglement reminds us that separation might not be a surface illusion, and beneath it, threads. Now, we arrived at the most debated principle of them all, the observer effect. In quantum mechanics, observation isn't passive. It changes the system being observed. This was famously demonstrated through the Double Slit Experiment. In its quantum version, when electrons are fired one at a time through two slits, without observation, they create an interference pattern, like waves overlapping. That means each electron is behaving like a wave, traveling through both slits at once. But when a detector is placed to observe which slit the electron passes through, the electron behaves like a particle going through just one slit. The act of measurement forces it into a defined state. It collapses the wave function. The math behind this comes from the Copenhagen interpretation, first proposed by Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, which states that the quantum systems exist in probabilities, until they are observed, of course. Some physicists believe that this implies that consciousness plays a role in shaping reality. Others argue that any measurement device, not just human minds, causes the collapse. But either way, the effect is real. Observation changes the outcome. In a universe made of probabilities, attention becomes the defining force. And that raises the bigger question. If reality requires interaction to take shape, what does that say about our role in the universe? So we've just explored the quantum world breaks the rules that we thought were unbreakable. Particles can be in multiple states at once. They can affect each other instantly across space. And just observing them changes their behavior. Now pause for a second and ask yourself, if the tiniest building blocks of the universe behaves this way, what does that say about us? Because here's the thing, we're made up of those same particles. We're part of this system, and that raises a powerful idea. One that's been echoed not just in science, but in psychology, creativity, and even philosophy. That the way we focus shapes what we experience. If observing a particle changes its behavior, maybe our attention, our focus, our intention matters more than we realized. This is where we step into the idea of co-creation. Not in a mythical, floaty way, but in a practical one. What if your thoughts, your mindset, your perspective don't just reflect reality, but actually participate in shaping it? What does it mean that particles wait to choose a path until they're observed? That the world doesn't fully exist, at least not in one definite way.
Until it's witnessed?
For some people, this leads straight into the idea of manifestation, that your thoughts directly shape your reality. But I see it differently. I don't think we're creators of reality in the way people often say. I think we're co-creators. There's a divine rhythm already in motion, and when we walk in alignment with it, when we move towards meaning, integrity, love, the universe meets us there. It doesn't obey us, but it responds to us. That's the beauty of the observer effect. Not that we control everything, but that our attention and our presence might be part of how things unfold. In the same way, the particle's path collapses into form when someone watches. Maybe the future does the same. Maybe our focus, your values, your presence is what activates a path forward. Maybe your focus, your values, your presence is what activates a path forward. This idea isn't new, though. Ancient spiritual traditions have said the same thing, but in different words. In Hermeticism, they say, as above, so below, as without, so within. What we reflect outward and what exists in higher realms echoes into the physical. Even scripture whispers this idea. Faith is the evidence of things unseen, a possible reality waiting to be made known. I think about it like this. There's a field of possibilities, always shifting, just beyond what we can see. And we get glimpses of it, intuitions, patterns, synchronicities, like the shimmer of something just beneath the surface. And when we tune in, when we move in the direction of something true, the field starts to take shape. Maybe not in the exact form we imagine, but in a form that makes sense. Not manifesting our desires, but walking into alignment with the best possible outcome that already wants to meet us. So instead of asking, how can I control the outcome, which the universe doesn't like when we don't surrender, maybe the better question is, what should I put my attention and intention into? Because if the universe reflects anything, it might be that. Now, before we get too carried away, these ideas are very thought-provoking and interesting, but some of them aren't yet known. Because while quantum physics feels spiritual and while it sounds like it's backed up ideas like manifestation and co-creation, the truth is science doesn't confirm these interpretations. Not directly. Not yet. Physicists aren't in labs saying, yep, thoughts shape reality. Write it down. Write it down. They're studying patterns, running calculations, trying to understand a universe that often refuses to sit still. So I want to be clear. Quantum physics is not proof of manifestation. It doesn't tell us that intentions create reality in the way some self-help books say. And it definitely doesn't mean we can just think our way into wealth, love, and health without action, accountability, or reality checks. But it does suggest something powerful that possibly exists before certainty. That reality might not be a closed book, that it may be in fact interactive, and that our consciousness, whatever it really is, might play a bigger role than we've realized. I think that's the bridge, not proof, but a pathway between science and spirit. A space where mystery is allowed to breathe, where the math says, I don't fully understand what's going on, and ancient wisdom says, we never did. So no, this isn't about forcing meaning onto science. It's about recognizing that even the most precise disciplines, physics, mathematics, cosmology, still leave space for questions that can't be answered. And maybe that's where conversations live. Not in declaring truth, but in holding the unknown gently, with wonder, with humility. So what do you take away from all of this? Maybe the universe isn't a machine. Maybe it's more like a conversation, unfolding, responsive, aware of your presence. We've seen that at the tiniest levels of reality, things aren't fixed. They're potential, and potential is beautiful. It means we don't have to know everything to take a step. It means the act of witnessing, paying attention, being present, that might matter more than we think. We've seen that at the tiniest levels of reality, things aren't fixed. They're potential, and potential is a beautiful word. It means we don't have to know everything to take a step. It means the act of witnessing, paying attention, being present, that might matter more than we think. We don't have to manifest perfectly. We don't have to hack the quantum field. Maybe you just have to stay open, curious, aligned with what's honest, and the future that fits you will meet you halfway. For me, this episode isn't about giving answers. It's about remembering that science and spirit aren't enemies. They're both languages trying to describe the same mystery. A mystery that includes you. So whether you're a scientist, a mystic, or a skeptic, or someone just trying to find meaning, I hope this gave you something to sit with. A new way to see the unknown, not as a threat, but as an invitation. Because maybe the chaos isn't the problem. It's the conversation that changes everything. If this sparks something in you, I would like if you would subscribe or follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. You can also find me on Instagram for my artistic world, or Facebook where I drop clips and random thoughts. I don't really do Twitter, but Threads is where I'm casually unfiltered. Wherever you tune in, thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next episode. Love you, bye.